launching into a new industry, a new market, you can't really just dip your toe because you can't build that trust that you need. It's just not going to go anywhere.
We work, fun guy, in our world, we work with the less sexy brands, but they're brands and they're companies that are essential, they're functional, they're practical, they help the world work, basically.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious from your perspective, having had this kind of broad view of different brands and marketing, how do you find your way to connect with that? Do you have a background in construction, personally, sort of, where did it get interesting for you? Because as a marketer, you kind of have to be interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. I mean, if you're trying to market or sell something you don't believe in, I mean, God help you,
Right.
So, I mean, I think for me, what has always drawn me to marketing is this thought that you can help people, basically. You can understand what it is they need or want, can figure out how to make that, and then you can bring those two things together, that customer, that thing that they want, bring them together and solve a solution.
Had you ever launched a new product into a new category before?
Geez, I'd have to think back. It doesn't come to my head.
Yeah. But that's not every marketer does that. Like a lot of marketing, especially in the B2B world, is like keep the lights on. It depends on what your business is, but like sell more of the product, generate the leads. Yeah, like maybe we have a product launch every once in a while, but you're not like necessarily like going into a different category.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It presents unique challenges, I would say. Yeah.
So if you hadn't done this before, I guess where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're attempting to launch into a new category, right? Some of the things you consider, I might have mentioned it earlier, but some of the things you consider are, one, what are our capabilities to address the different needs? You have to have sort of an innovation mindset, an imagination. You can do formal exercises within the company to brainstorm where you might be. There has to be a culture, right, of just this innovation and thinking differently. And so that when you're going out into the world and you're seeing different problems out there, you can kind of imagine, could we solve that? How could we solve that?
That's such an entrepreneurial mindset. I feel like you don't really see that. I mean, it depends on the size of the company, I guess, and the culture, right? But like you don't always see that in larger or mid-sized companies.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely it's a culture thing. And it was certainly a culture within this last company that I was at. A goal was to have ultimately like 25% of revenue from new products. Could we do that? Could that be done better? So you have to have that imagination. Then you have to make sure you have the capabilities to meet those needs. Kind of goes hand in hand there. And then it has to make sense. It sort of has to make sense for the brand. Like you might have the capabilities. Gatorade, for example, probably has the capabilities to make a great sugary soda, right? Sure. But is that on brand? It's not on brand. So there has to be a fit there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess just to give people like a clearer sense of what you're doing, like talk a little bit about like what did your company do? Like what were the core products? And then sort of help me understand how far outside of like how big of a reach was this that you guys were going for? What kind of different products were your?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So this company was in the construction industry, helping contractors hang MEP services, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So it was, in terms of capabilities, it was a great fit to move over into the solar industry. And just like inside a building, you need to move electricity from here to there. Yeah. Also within the solar industry, of course, in a solar farm, you're going to have to move that electricity that's generated at the panels from here to there. So it was a good fit there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, makes sense.
But then you have to do the due diligence. You have to go out and you have to talk to your customers. You have to understand the market, to understand all the key players. You have to understand what certifications and regulations you might have to adhere to. So you have to do your homework there. And then, of course, moving into a new industry, even if you have the capabilities, you might not have the awareness. And I think what was really important for us, necessary for us, is you have to gain the trust of that audience, of that customer. Because as I said before, if you're talking about projects in the hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, they want to make sure that they don't screw up. Sure. And so they're risk averse. So you have to build that trust as well.
That is like kind of the key to this whole thing, right? It's not like I said, it's not the innovation. I mean, innovation is part of it, but like in order to build something, it starts with the trust, right? So I'd be interested to hear how what's marketing's role in that, right? Because I'm assuming this is like a business decision and then marketing kind of steps in at a certain point. Yep. Or were you part of the initial even just see if it's viable part of the process?
Yeah, I mean, when I came on board, they had sort of dipped their toe in this industry. But I think the issue is that when you're launching into a new industry, a new market, you can't really just dip your toe, right? Because you can't build that trust that you need. It's just not going to go anywhere. So,
more of a cannonball.
I don't think I would call it a cannonball, because I think with marketing, one of the things we do as marketers, you never know for sure what's going to work. But what you need to do is do your homework to mitigate risk and set yourself up for the greatest chance of success, right? So, we did our due diligence, and what do I mean by that is you understand the market as a whole, right? You understand who's going to be using the product, who's going to be buying the product, who are the gatekeepers. We talked about earlier about regulations, certifications, expertise. So like, how do you get the engineering community on board? All of that different stuff. You have to keep that in mind. But you can't just dip your toe in a new industry. So what we did was we made sure to put forth an adequate investment, and we made sure to hit multiple touch points. We had trade advertising in print, we had digital, we had the social component, event marketing, right? We upped our game at trade shows to the point where competition came to us and said, now we're going to have to up our game because people are taking notice. But, you do all of these things to build that trust and to communicate that we are a legitimate player here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think content marketing plays a big part in that too, in building the trust, because, I don't know what the full definition of content marketing is, but in my opinion, it's you're building content that is useful. It's not a commercial, it's not an advertisement, but it's providing information that is very useful to the industry, irregardless of if they choose you as a partner.
Yeah. Well, it totally makes sense, right? Because you're trying to position not only the brand and the product, but the people as the experts in the room, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People trust people over logos, and you got to do both, right? And so you've got these experts that are the technical experts, and how do you build that trust? Well, it starts with one-to-one relationships or even one-to-many conversations.
Yeah, and earlier I was mentioning that you have to ensure that your capabilities match up with whatever you're trying to launch, right? It makes complete sense, right? But in this case, capabilities include that technical expertise that gives credence. It includes internal engineers. It includes, as I said before, the feet on the ground to provide the education and the support. It can include the warranties. And one of the things that we had here was, although we were a new entrant into solar, we had decades and decades of experience within construction. And many of the large players doing solar are also doing typical huge commercial construction projects. So we have a little bit of overlay there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so on the solar side of things, when your audience, your potential customers sort of saw that you're playing in that field now, did they already kind of know about you and they were like, oh, I'm excited, we know those guys are awesome over there, it's going to be great over here? Or was it kind of like, I've never even heard of you before, now you're going to have to start from scratch?
Yeah, we had a little of both, but usually within these larger companies that do both commercial construction and solar, they're different teams, So it could be helpful talking to the solar team and asking them to get in touch with their counterparts over here, or providing examples of counterparts within that company that have worked with us in the past. That can be helpful. There were also many times where that wasn't the case, but you can still point to the fact that you're a very established company,
right,
and talk about sort of transferable skills, ensuring safety within giant skyscrapers and auditoriums, arenas, what have you, So talk about those transferable skills.
Did you kind of land on okay, what's our one thing that's going to pierce through the veil here?
Launching into a new industry is also, how does that message evolve, right? Because when you're starting off, you're introducing yourself to these new customers, right? And so what we thought about was, how can we introduce ourselves in an interesting, impactful way, and then later on, after we've introduced ourselves into the market here, how does that evolve into providing more of the sort of middle of the funnel content, and talk more about the products and the services and what have you. Then we started to evolve our ad campaigns into more of the details of what these products are, the features and benefits and all of that good stuff, and then all of the benefits, ancillary benefits around the product.
When you're launching a product, you have to make sure that the sales team that's out there evangelizing this and doing the support stuff are all telling the same story.
Yep.
And they're consistent. How big was that sales team, and how did you get them on message delivering that story?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. This company had their construction team and then this kind of newly formed solar team. And so we could leverage both, but we had the expertise in the solar team. And it wasn't a huge team, about 5 people, different regions. So it made it less challenging to make sure.
You'd be in the same room sometimes?
Yep. So that was less challenging. We used MarTech, pretty cool tool to get sales materials, digital sales materials out to them, templates, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's about communication. It's about, regularly meeting with the team, talking about what these benefits are, these features are, regular communication. Yeah. Trust, talked about trust, building trust within B2B, your customers, but also trust within the team. And it's, you can build trust just by getting together often, listening to one another.
Yeah, just building a relationship, the old-fashioned way. I mean, I always find it interesting, like, obviously we're in content marketing and we help build trust online as a lot of what we're doing, and events and things, but it all goes together, right? It's like, you're not going to just make an ad and expect there to be trust. You're not going to just have a handshake at a cocktail party and expect it to work. It has to work together.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, I mean, we had our sales team, a lot of them have backgrounds in the trades and, plumbing, electrical, what have you. And so, I always viewed them as really important subject matter experts, right? It was definitely a two-way street. It wasn't just me telling them, this is the message and this is what you need to, talk about and this is what you need to do, but really using them as a resource. Right. And that builds trust as well.
Yeah, 100%. Well, when we think about Adam, obviously in the day job, you're a marketer who leads a marketing organization. But what's something that you're working on now that you're really excited about? And whether it's a passion or the day job, for me, I run a company doing content marketing, but on the side, I'm doing kids music.
Nice.
So
Love it.
I just went first. So what about you? What are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you personally, I've really got into two physical activities that actually are quite complementary, and you might not think it that way. Karate, I've been studying martial arts for about 5 years.
Wow.
Probably going to get my black belt within the next several months.
Knock on wood. Don't break this.
Yeah, excited about that. On a personal level, that's something I love. On a marketing level, right now I'm helping a local maker within the food industry with his marketing and just kind of generating ideas and networking. And, you know, one of the things I love is networking and bringing resources together and helping people out. So that's been exciting. Yeah. I'm going to be helping a friend out starting up his business consultancy, which should launch within the next couple of months. So a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of fun stuff.
You're busy.
Holy cow is right.
Holy cow.
Because that is the name of the consultancy.
Whoa, really? That wasn't planned.
There you go, guys.
That was not planned.
HOLICOW.
I love it. Is this like the sort of launch party for Holy Cow?
Yeah, I know it hasn't launched yet, so eventually we'll have to put in the comments the links and all that good stuff.
This could be the moment. I feel like we're a part of a product launch. We're very meta.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I got to ask one final question that I ask everybody. What is a word or a phrase that we should no longer use in the workplace? What comes to mind?
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I kind of want to say optimize. It's just so overused.
Do you think we could optimize the word further? And what would we use instead?
Actually, you know what? Here, I'm going to change my answer. This is one that really annoys me. Literally. The use of the word literally when it is not literally what is going on and what you mean. So that if we could cut that out and just use figuratively more often, I think I'd be happy.
Preach, brother.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do that. We will do it literally, though, right?
We will literally use figuratively more and less literally.
And less literally. Let's literally do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, Adam. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it was my
Appreciate
pleasure. Yeah.
And then you want to end with like a karate pose? I guess people who really do karate don't do joke karate like I do.
We don't do joke karate. No. We don't want to hurt people.
Well, it would be cool if you broke a board on camera, but we'll not do that. Can we do this? This is pretty sturdy, right?
What's this made out
I
of?
think a yellow belt could probably break that.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah! I'm a white belt. When I was
Congratulations.
like 10.
Isn't everyone a white
You don't start out as well. No, in Taekwondo, you don't start out as a white belt. You start out as a no belt. Well, at least that was the case. Maybe things have changed since then.
I don't know. They're all different. And the problem is all the belts, like a blue belt in this discipline is up here, and in this other discipline it's down there. So you need to have like a little legend or a little cheat sheet. Yeah.
Because there's like also like stars and little things you can add to your belt.
Yeah, stripes.
Little like emoji icons. And that's awesome that you did that in 5 years.
Yeah.
It's like a lot.
Yeah, 5-6 years is, I think, typical for martial art if you apply yourself. Yeah. So it's been great for me. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thanks for coming out and doing the podcast with us.
Yeah, again, it's been my pleasure.
Upping.